According to a newly released court document, on June 15th, 2023, Chad Doerman had his wife and kids join him in the master bedroom for a nap. There's a lot in this document. On July 7th, 2023, a new bill of particulars was filed regarding the state of Ohio versus Chad Christopher Doerman. Now, you might remember he's the Ohio man who's been charged with murdering his beautiful 3 little sons on June 15th, 2023. We've learned a lot more about the details of that horrible day. The fact that Chad had planned this family tragedy for many months, starting in October of 2022. That's around 9 months before the crime. Chad didn't sleep for 3 or 4 days prior to the killings. So we've also learned other rumors are true. Chad did come home early from work that day, the day he traumatized his wife and children. So that rumor we talked about previously from Facebook is true. Let's read the highlights of this bill of particulars, and a warning, the story is very disturbing in nature. We already know that Chad took the lives of his 3 little boys, Clayton, 7 years old, Hunter, 4 years old, and little 3-year-old Chase, better known as Chasers was his nickname. We will also see the harm he inflicted upon his wife Laura and his stepdaughter Alexis that day. We will learn how they both were heroes trying to save these boys. Laura was even bitten by Chad, and she desperately placed her thumb in the barrel of the rifle, and Chad shot her thumb. She was doing everything they could to save the boys. The court document has plenty of redacted names, so let's do the best we can to understand what has been published. It was on or about June 15, 2023 at 1965 Laurel Lendell Road in New Richmond, Ohio in Claremont County, Ohio, where Chad did purposely and or with prior calculation and design cause the death of his 3 children, and all 3 children were under the age of 13 years of age. On June 15th, 2023, Chad returned early from work and had his family, including his wife and sons, join him in the master bedroom for a nap. The document will go on to say it was his wife and all 3 boys who laid down for a nap in the master bedroom with Chad. So this is shocking. Why did Chad have his wife and kids nap with him first? Was he trying to catch his family off guard? You know, killers often attack their victims when they are asleep or in some type of vulnerable state. Was Chad finally able to sleep for a nap because he knew what he was about to do? And why had he been up for 3 or 4 days prior to this, unable to sleep? What caused these psychotic actions? Was Chad under the influence of anything? Is there something else going on? The document says at some point after lying down with the 4 of them, Chad got out of bed, opened the gun safe next to the bed, and removed a Marlin Model HC-22 rifle from the gun safe and a loaded magazine. Chad then inserted the magazine into the rifle and shot his son twice. Immediately, Laura began to render aid to her son and yelled for her other children to run. But just prior to the shooting, Chad's stepdaughter Alexis, who had been watching television in the family room, made her way to the master bedroom and witnessed the shooting. May I say what a brave young woman Alexis is? And had Laura awakened and began screaming? Did Laura wake up and see Chad, loading the rifle? Is that what summoned Alexis to the master bedroom before the shooting? Either way, she's brave to come to the aid of her family and what she has been through. Oh my goodness. She immediately began to run and indicated that one of the boys ran the wrong way, that is, out the rear door of the residence and towards a field. So Alexis ran after him, screaming at him to keep running. But that's when Alexis witnessed Chad chase after this little boy, and she witnessed Chad begin shooting at the little boy as he fled. The little boy was struck by gunfire, knocking him down to the ground. Alexis watched as Chad then approached this little boy. Chad turned and looked at someone, then turned back to, his victim, and fired one shot into the little boy's head at close range. So he must have looked at Alexis, then turned back. Alexis then turned and fled back into the residence where she picked up the youngest child, 3-year-old Chase, and attempted to flee the residence with him. As she attempted to flee, Chad returned to the residence and heard someone crying. Alexis immediately began running with Chase. So I don't know if Alexis was hiding with Chase or if Chase started crying. Anyway, as she approached the road, Chad caught up to her, raised the rifle, and pointed the firearm at blank. It says, I believe he pointed it at Alexis. Can you imagine this heroic 14-year-old girl just running with a 3-year-old in her arms, trying to outrun a man she's viewed as her dad? She's even called him dad for more than a decade now. Chad demanded that she put Chase down, but Alexis was begging Chad not to shoot her, and she put Chase down. She then witnessed Chad attempt to shoot Chase in the head. However, the gun did not fire, and it appeared he was out of ammunition. Chase then ran over to his mother, Laura, who was in the side yard, attempting to render aid to another one of her sons. After Chad held the rifle to Alexis's head, she proceeded to flee towards the Monroe Township Fire Department. It's so crazy. I wish she could have escaped. It's like in that split second, I wish she could have escaped with Chase when, the gun was out of ammunition. But Alexis was stopped by a passerby and advised the witness that her father was, quote, killing everyone as she continued to flee towards the fire department. That's the 911 call we heard of the woman telling police her interactions with Alexis.
911, where's your emergency?
There's a girl running down the street saying that her stepfather is killing everyone in her family. It's on the corner of where there's a body shop and the fire department. Do you know what road this is?
Okay, what's your name?
Get into the fire department.
What's your name?
Do you know what road this is? Laura Lendell Road.
You said what?
It's Laura Lendell Road.
Okay, and what did the female say to you?
And she says that her stepfather is killing everybody in her house. I did. I'm on the phone with them right now.
Did she say how or what was happening?
I asked her to get in the car with me, and she said she couldn't leave her family. But I think she ran to the fire department.
So she went to the fire station. What did she look like?
She's probably a young teenager, probably like 16 maybe, with long blonde hair. And she has a black dog.
Did she say anything about a baby?
I don't know about no baby. She said she just couldn't leave her family. But I see a car running around. I'm sorry?
Do you see anything from the house?
So I drove down the road a little bit, so I was afraid that I was going to get shot myself since I interacted with her face to face. So I'm just about maybe 3 houses down. But she's waiting at the corner. I don't know what she's doing, but I kind of still see her in the corner. But I saw a car kind of came around and whipped around, so I'm not exactly sure if that's him or if he's chasing her or not. I'm sorry?
What kind of vehicle was it?
I saw it was like a gray. Did you see that car whip around? It's one of the fire department guys.
Okay.
I think maybe a fire department guy. It was a regular kind of Focus-looking gray car.
Okay, we have help on the way. Thank you.
Dark gray.
If you
Okay, all right.
Else, call us back, okay, and steer clear of the area at this time.
Okay. She said this said stay clear from the area.
Yeah. But
she came to that. That's the house right there.
But the document says Alexis has suffered serious psychological harm as a result of Chad's actions. I believe it. At some point, Chad went back out to the field and carried one of the boys back to the side of the residence and laid his body in the yard where all 3 children were ultimately found. After Alexis fled, Laura was able to pick up her son. And that's when Chad and Laura get into this physical fight. They engaged in a physical altercation over the child, during which Chad attempted to pull Chase away from Laura's grasp. She's still just trying to save her youngest here. Chad went so far as to bite her to get her to let Chase go. But Laura still fought on. During the altercation, Laura grabbed the firearm, placing her thumb over the barrel. That's when Chad shot Laura through the thumb, and after she was bitten, she ultimately dropped Chase. During the chaos, Chad also attempted to reload his firearm. Chase was ultimately laid in the same area as his brothers on the side of the residence. After Chad executed all 3 boys, he sat on the side stoop of the residence and calmly watched Laura undertake futile life-saving measures on her 3 children. And that's when we know she was screaming like, "They're dead and you took my life from me." One son was shot one time at close range in the head, while the other 2 were both shot 4 times, which is too much to think of. All 3 boys died as a result of their injuries, and Alexis has suffered serious psychological harm as a result of being held at gunpoint, forced to surrender little Chase to Chad for his execution, and witnessing her stepfather execute her brothers. Laura has suffered serious physical harm as well when Laura was shot through her thumb. Now, Chad made multiple statements to law enforcement such as, "I did it, take me to jail, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have shot blank in them." So that's where his confession comes from, right there. And we will ultimately see these videos of his confession, I believe. Chad also gave a statement during an audio and video recorded interview, during which he admitted to having been thinking about shooting his sons since October. He further indicated during that interview that the thoughts of having to kill his sons was so heavy on him that he hadn't slept for 3 or 4 days prior to murdering his 3 sons. So why did Chad come up with this sinister plan for this crime for nearly 9 months? It was weighing so heavy on him, so he knew perhaps a date when he was going to do it, and we looked at when he changed his Facebook photos 4 days prior, so he must have known the date. Philippians 2:9-11. Therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. That's who I'm calling on now to really help these women that Chad so viciously put through this horror. And just what he did to the boys is just too horrific to think about. To even think about witnessing that, to think about his stepdaughter, this young teenager, begging for her own life, and Chad basically forcing her to set little 3-year-old Chase down. There's no type of guilt, survivor's guilt, or anything that either Alexis or Laura should feel. They did the best they could to try and save those boys. They were obviously living with a maniac, this maniac who pre-planned this horrible family tragedy for some unknown reason, and he obviously chose that June 15th date because days prior, as soon as he changed those Facebook photos and profiles to him and the boys, he knew what he was going to do on June 15th. It was very premeditated. So much so it's weighing heavy on him that he couldn't sleep 3 or 4 days after changing his Facebook cover photo and profile and everything of picture of him and the boys, and he left one of him and his wife Laura alone up there. So he knew what he was going to do, and he couldn't even sleep those 3 or 4 days. But why not change his mind in that time instead of going on with it? But he certainly was able to, I guess, take a nap as soon as he came home early from work that day, June 15th. And we've seen search warrants or information about a Kroger video or something that cops want. So we don't know. There's a bunch of rumors about, did Chad go to Kroger trying to seek help? Or there's so many rumors about whether he lost his job. So many things I have to sort through that I don't know what's truth or not. Word around town is allegedly Chad lost his job. So did he get fired that day, or did he just come home from work early for a different reason? Did he come home from work early on June 15th because he knew what he was about to do? And he came home and he made everyone, I guess, take a nap with him except Alexis. And how long did they nap? I don't know. But why was he able to sleep then? It's all so horrible. And then how soon did he tell the cops, I did it, I shouldn't have done it? That immediate regret, but still so cold and just so casually smoking a cigarette with his left hand on the porch while his poor wife is just beyond beside herself, hoping beyond hope she can somehow save her little boys. The terror he put his stepdaughter through in forcing her, at gunpoint to place her little beautiful youngest brother down in front of this monster to execute. It's physical terror, it's psychological terror, it's everything. And my prayer is that despite what Chad has done to his family, that the young lady and her mom will be able to go on past this and eventually somehow heal. It's going to be God's help alone through Jesus that'll get them past this. I pray they can get through it and that all of them can see justice. Thank you for watching.